again, it's time for another look at this morning's papers with the broadcaster Gemma Forte and the journalist Chanel Aldred. Hello again to you both. Thanks a lot for hanging around. Let's start with you, Gemma. Let's bring up The Guardian, the front page of The Guardian, actually, a really powerful image there. And it's all about this Roe versus Wade ruling and the fact that the US Supreme Court overturned it. That's not actually the one I was talking about. Do you have the front page of The Guardian? Okay, we don't have it, but if you have a look, it's a woman with a piece of tape over her mouth that says second-class citizen, and that's really what so many people are saying, aren't they? The pro-choice lobby is that ruling has relegated women to a second-class citizen position within their own society.
It really has. It's so regressive. It felt terrifying yesterday, and I really mean that. It feels barbaric, and I think women all over the world will be incredibly disturbed and concerned as America, the country that's done nothing about gun laws, so children are regularly shot in primary school, have voted in the Supreme Court to overturn the Roe Wade law, which was a result of that landmark case some 50 years ago. So that's how far we're going back. And of course, this is Trump's legacy. And the reason it's so frightening is because you take away the right to have an abortion, and abortions won't stop. They will just become life-threatening and unsafe. That's what history tells us. You know, you only have to look at the amount of women who used to die from botched abortions because they were utterly desperate. Plus, this idea that any woman has an abortion in a casual or light way is preposterous. It's always a last resort. Perhaps the pregnancy is a result of something utterly traumatic, or perhaps that woman simply cannot bring a life into the world. The point is, for a woman not to have a choice is incredible, and we do live in a patriarchy. If men had a period, I think, you know, life would be very different. This ruling would not have gone ahead. It frightens me that men are making these decisions about women's bodies. And also in America, you know, we're so privileged here to have the healthcare system that we do. This is going to really hit the poor the hardest.
Yeah, and picking up on what it means for us here, Boris Johnson, talking in Kigali yesterday, said that he thinks it's a big step backward. Let's have a look at page 2 of The Sun. He slammed that ruling. What do you think, Janelle, it means for women here in the UK?
I think we are in a more privileged position here, that this doesn't seem to be something that there's a big agenda for to roll back women's rights here, but we can never take away from the fact that sometimes we see things start happening in the US and they do track their way over, and we know that there's all kinds of human rights that are being clamped down upon in terms of getting rid of the human rights bill as is to transfer something different. So I think we always, especially it seems as women, need to be on our guard about what our rights are and standing up for them, keeping the right to protest, keeping the right to come against all of these things when they happen, because that's something that's being clamped down upon, which is scary, because if something should change or an agenda should change, then what would our right of reply be to protest, to strike back, to have our say on what's happening? So I think that for me is the worrying thing on this side of the pond. But, you know, I was with my cousin at one of her antenatal appointments in America a few years ago. Her partner couldn't attend, and she had to pay some £300 for an appointment, and they also had health insurance. So it's a costly and prohibitive law that we should all be worried about.
No, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out globally, right, in the next couple of months and years. Let's go on to the front page of the Mail. What has Sajid Javid been saying, Gemma?
Well, I was interested to see what the Mail would be coming up with this week in light of the disastrous results for the Tories in the 2 by-elections. So Javid here is saying, tell public the truth about the anti-Tory pact. I mean, this is laughable and ludicrous because, of course, you know, the Lib Dems, let's face it, did not campaign very hard in Wakefield, and Labour did the same. They didn't campaign very hard in Tiverton and Honiton. However, that's perfectly legal. Let's look at 2019. What happened? The Brexit Party made way for the Tories, and the front page of the Mail then was "Stand down Nigel Farage." So it's all right then. And, you know, it's very patronising to voters. Voters voters will vote for who they want to vote for, end of. And unfortunately, our ridiculous voting system, the whole first past the post, the fact that we don't have proportional representation, means that we do have to think tactically depending upon where we live and the ultimate outcome that we want. And I actually think if Labour made proportional representation a pledge, that would attract a lot of people to vote for them, to make our votes count in the future. But Suella Braverman was trying this line as well that Savage Javid was on about, and it just comes across as rather sour grapes and a bit pathetic and the wrong reading of the situation.
Okay, let's go back to this Commonwealth meeting in Rwanda. In the Times, page 16, and we were covering it here yesterday on Sky, Prince Charles talking about slavery at that meeting. Do you know, what did he say?
Yeah, so he's expressed his deep sorrow once again, and we kind of go from a government that finds sorry a very hard word to a family that finds sorry a very easy word, but don't seem to do much on the back of the apology. And I think the best apology is definitely changed behaviour, because it's rather hard to be grateful when people are simply acknowledging what's been in everyone's plain sight and view for a long time, that slavery was abhorrent, and that, you know, also this country has profited off that slavery. And it's interesting that they use the language of friends and coming as equals and the Commonwealth family. Well, I'll tell you something that I feel like in my family, if someone takes something from me, I would expect them to give me something back, and I think a lot of these countries have suffered under crippling debt and have been unable to build their infrastructure and move forward in the same way that the West has, because of the backdrop of slavery and all the things that were taken. And so I think the royal family need to do more than just say sorry and apologise. I think they need to see about what else they can do, but I do think it's positive language, although a bit behind what's happening because they have no choice, that the Commonwealth families who do want to remove the Queen and therefore Prince Charles as future head of state, that they are happy to do so. Not that they have much say in the matter, because as we saw with Barbados, they just left and did it anyway. So I think sorries are great, but there's been too many sorries now. Let's see some action on the back of it to repair some of the damage that's been done.
Okay, Gemma, let's talk about the opera and Angela Rayner. What are the Daily Telegraph saying about Miss Rayner going to Glyndebourne?
Well, they're just being really snobby about it. They're calling her a champagne socialist, and it just feels to me a bit lazy. I think the fact that Angela Rayner is enjoying the Marriage of Figaro with a glass of fizz in her hand is fantastic. You can care about workers and go to the opera. Two things are possible. And it made me think, you know, Prince William is a very well-known football fan. Is that not okay? You know, this idea that we have to stay in our class lanes, I find ridiculous. We all know that Angela Rayner came from a very, very poor background indeed. You should read about her childhood if you haven't. It's fairly inspiring when you think where she's come from and how powerful a force she is in politics. All credit to her. And if she's enjoying some classical music, excellent. Perhaps she'll broaden the horizons for other people. So it just looks snobby and pernicious. I don't like snobbery.
Indeed, no. Gemma Janelle, thanks a lot. We'll see you next hour. Still to come here on Sky News Breakfast, we will have Beth Rigby's full interview with the Prime Minister. She sits down with Boris Johnson in Rwanda.